Sure. Thanks, John. Great to see everybody. Appreciate everybody making their way out here today. Beautiful day to watch some practice and good Tuesday practice and big week ahead. But first, just rewinding to the Lafayette game. Very pleased to get that opening win. We knew that was an experienced, battle-tested, confident team coming in. And I was pleased with how the first half of the game went and got off to a good start. I think it was 16-0 at halftime. I also really appreciate the student turnout at the game. Those Thursday night openers, I think that's critical that you get the students out, and they were definitely there and they were engaged, and we were grateful. You heard them for sure, and we'd love to see them come back in 2 weeks and come back for the rest of the home games as well. So we need to keep working at our game day environment, but I thought certainly the student turnout was really good, and hopefully we can continue to encourage faculty, staff, community members, people from Western New York to come out and see this team. We also had about a dozen high school teams at the game, which means a lot to us as a coaching staff that those high school coaches thought enough of what we're doing to bring their teams over and be a part of that environment. So that was certainly good to see. In terms of highlights of the game, you have to start off with our defense and the fine job that they did, yielding just over 200 yards total, 43 rushing yards, held one of the better running backs in the FCS to 12 yards. We had 4 fourth down stops, 2 of which were in the red zone. Another one was in the high red zone. And it just seemed like every time we needed those guys to step up and make a play, they made it. They made one early with McNair's interception. And then they made another huge play late with Shawn Dolak. And it was great to see Shawn get Defensive Player of the Week honors from the Mid-American Conference. Just a great story with this guy coming back to the program and getting off to such a good start, both from a leadership standpoint and obviously his production on the field. The last thing I'll say about our defense, when you watch these week 0, week 1, even week 2 games, you see a lot of missed tackles, and that was something you did not see a lot of, particularly after the first quarter with our guys. I thought we tackled in space really well. Our guys were pursuing hard to the ball, taking good angles. And that's really a credit to the preparation of our defensive coaches, because you don't want preseason camp to be the Bataan Death March. You know, you want to keep your guys healthy, and you want to stay up as much as you can. You want to sprinkle in your live tackling, and you always worry, you know, are your guys ready to go out there and tackle live in the first game? And I thought we certainly did that. Offensively, it was really a workmanlike performance. Proud of CJ and how he managed the offense in his first game. He connected on some deep balls, which was really encouraging. We ran the ball pretty consistently all night, with the exception of the start of the third quarter. But even then, when we hit some adversity, we were poised, we were patient, and we kept pounding the rock until it started to break, which was good to see. So we ended up with over 200 yards rushing. So anytime you can rush for 200, hold your opponent to under 50, there's a really good chance you're going to win that game. We only put the ball on the ground one time. Once is too many. Really, really savvy heads-up play by Trevor Brock. That ball's bouncing around. There's a chance it could be a touchback. There's a chance it could be a turnover. He swats it out of bounds, and we maintained possession. To me, that was a huge highlight of the game because it was such a savvy play. And then Jock Barksdale, 99 yards rushing, most of which came in the second half, and that was really nice to see that he stepped up when the lights went on and really got us some critical yards after contact. Disappointed with the play of our special teams, not nearly to our standard here. We put a lot of time, effort, emphasis on it. It's a huge point of emphasis in our program. So disappointed with how those units performed. The one highlight was the explosive punt return. So that was good to see that we were able to get some good field position there in the first half. but a lot to clean up from a special team standpoint here as we head into week 2. So I felt like overall that was one of those games that could have gone either way. There were moments on the sideline that I felt like we could run those guys out of here and really pull away in the game. And then there were some moments where we're going to get tested here and see if we can handle some serious adversity when those scores got a little bit closer, particularly in the second half. So I was really proud after some of those special teams miscues that there was no panic and we handled adversity well. And, inevitably this team's going to be in a lot of close games this year. So hopefully the lessons that we learned from that and some of the confidence that we gained from that and the fact that we can, gather ourselves and stay the course and find a way to win, hopefully that bodes well for down the road. We were able to get a little bit of extra practice time in with the Thursday night opener. It's really nice to open on Thursday for that reason because you have a lot to clean up coming out of the first game. So these last few days for us have been a real fundamentals focus, just trying to ingrain the good habits and trying to build that foundation, which in some areas is good and still needs to get better. In other areas, it's still very much in the formulative stages. The other thing that is a real sense of urgency coming out of the first game is to fix the glaring problems, because the first thing that any good coach is going to do is look at where you had issues and attack those. So from our standpoint, we need to get those things fixed quickly, all right, so that we don't put the same stuff on video that we put in the Lafayette game, put on film against Missouri this week, because certainly they'll be preparing for that stuff and future opponents will be prepared for that stuff. So we don't want history to repeat itself, and we got to get those things cleaned up. Huge test this week. Huge test as we go on the road to a great environment out in Columbia, Missouri. I've faced these guys the last 3 years in the SEC and just have tremendous respect for how they have built this program. And Coach Drinkwitz is really the mastermind behind the whole thing. He deserves a ton of credit. He's a fantastic offensive coach. He's had success offensively everywhere he's been, from the high school ranks all the way up to the Power Five. But what I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for is what a great CEO he is. And he has done a fabulous job having his presence and his fingers on every little bit of this program. I have been so impressed with how they have gotten better over the time that he's been there, how all three phases play such complementary football. And he's really got a great beat of the pulse of their whole program. I think he does a great job managing the program, managing the team, coaching the coaches, and he gets a lot out of his guys in every level of the program. And they've done a fabulous job recruiting. You look at the state of Missouri, and it may not be the biggest hotbed for high school football. So you're at a program like theirs, not only do you have to do a great job recruiting your home state, but you've got to be creative and go elsewhere and win battles for guys. And they have been able to do that. They've done a very good job with their high school recruiting, but they've also done an outstanding job in the transfer portal, bringing in some veteran guys that can step in and help them right away. So in a lot of ways, this is a great model for us. Yes, it's a different level. Yes, it's the SEC, but the way they've done it there and some of the parallels to where they're at, they're not a blue blood program in their conference, right? People are never going to look at them as Alabama or LSU, but yet they've built their program up to a point where now they are a championship contender. So they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for that, and it's been, for me, now 4 years running, very impressive to watch. In terms of their offense, they're a big 11 personnel team. They love what we call a mid-zone play. They do a great job with the play-action pass, deep shots off of that. They do an outstanding job with shifts and motions. They've got a tremendous receiver core led by number 3, Luther Burden, who is an in-state guy for them, or St. Louis area guy. Their running backs, they lost a really good running back last year, but they brought in 2 transfers who look to be filling in his shoes nicely. Their quarterback, Brady Cook's a 5th-year transfer, and he's just got a presence about him. You could just tell he's very comfortable out there, really does a great job running their system, makes a lot of the throws, gets them where they need to be. Big athletic O-line that brought in 2 transfers, and those 2 guys seem to be settling in as well. On defense, they hired a new defensive coordinator. He's certainly putting his own stamp on things, but they have a system that they believe in and that they trust. It's primarily a 4-down system, but we might see some 3-down stuff as well. A lot of really good veteran players. Their edge guys are legit SEC guys, long, big levers, cover a lot of ground, change direction well, rush the passer well, set really good edges, which is what edge players are supposed to do. They've got depth and experience at linebacker. They're all seniors or grad players, and they can rotate 5 or 6 linebackers in there. Love the way their tackles cover, but also how they tackle in space. And then they're athletic enough at corner to play zone and man. And then lastly, from a special team standpoint, I already mentioned Luther Burden. He's a very dangerous punt returner. When they return kickoffs, they're dangerous there as well. And then the punter is a big 6'5" guy with a big booming leg. Luke Bauer is his name. And then lastly, they graduated an all-SEC kicker who's probably one of the great kickers in the history of their program. And the guy that came in to replace him, Blake Craig, went 3 for 3 last week. So this is a team that had tremendous success last year, and they appear to be picking up right where they left off. So with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
Shawn Dolak, his performance, being named MAC Defensive Player of the Week. What did you see from him just on the field?
Sure. So the question was about Shawn Dolak, and the thing that he does so well is prepare. And he goes out there so confident because he's put in so much time during the week. He's so ultra-focused in meetings. He's one of those guys that's always around the office asking questions, watching video on his own. You just know he's going to be ready, and when you're ready, you can go out there and play fast. And you say a linebacker's got great instincts. I think he does, but preparation, in my opinion, leads to a lot of that instinct. And so that really showed up in week 1. It was good to see him have a productive night.
How does it help you and your staff prepare for this week's opponent, kind of having some inside knowledge on it?
Sure. Well, familiarity with the opponent certainly helps. But at the end of the day, you got to block them, you got to tackle, you got to throw, you got to catch, you got to take care of the ball. And so, yes, there is some background knowledge of Mizzou, and Joe Bowen was with me the first year at South Carolina, so he had to play these guys as well then. But really, it comes down to playing great fundamental football. And when you look at the teams that have been competitive against Mizzou, they're teams that have taken care of the football. They haven't turned it over. They've kept the chains moving. They haven't given up a bunch of explosive plays. They've made tackles out in space. So those things are very basic. They're very universal. They're things that we need to continue to get better at week to week, and they're not unique to Missouri. Now, you're going to be tackling bigger, faster, stronger guys. You're going to be blocking bigger, faster, stronger guys. But the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is do anything different than what you do. Because if you start cutting corners and think I've got to change my technique just because that guy's an SEC football player, in my opinion, that's the stuff that will get you beat in those one-on-one matchups.
So CJ was talking about gaining confidence in his new role. And what did you see from him on Saturday
Exactly what I hoped, which was just very even-keeled, very positive. He was very poised. He didn't flinch. He just was himself. He was comfortable with himself, and that's who he is. He's very much a glass half full guy, and even if he had more adversity than he did, I don't think he would have changed who he was. So that was very encouraging to see, and I think he's a very calming presence for our offense.
CJ started a game in this stadium before, and some of the other players have played it in Nebraska, Maryland. How do you think that experience playing in a big environment might help some of your guys this weekend?
Yeah, it's it can't hurt. It certainly can't hurt, and there's things we can do during the week, like crowd noise, to get the guys ready for the environment. Showing the guys what the stadium's going to look like, and those types of things. But ultimately, it's go play the game. Go play the game and don't blink. And that's one of the things I like about this team is we're pretty much the same group of guys every day. And we just need to keep instilling confidence in them that it's okay to be who you are. You have to get better every day. You have to take baby steps. You have to keep building your foundation. But at the end of the day, it's go out there and play. And there's a few little things you're going to tweak week to week to get ready for an environment or the quality of the opponent or how you feel like you're going to best attack those guys. But just go play, just do what we do.
Is there anything in your experience that you've learned about the world of the SEC, right? For fans, it's put up pretty high. Is it different? Is it better? Is it more? Like, what is your team stepping into this weekend playing an SEC team?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so grateful that I got a chance to coach in that conference for 3 years and build some of the relationships, not only at South Carolina, but with a lot of the people at these other institutions. But there's a reason why they say it's different, because it is. There's some conferences where maybe you go to the top 2 or 3 programs, and those blue blood programs have incredible environments and great fan support and great commitment. But in the SEC, it's everybody. It's everybody from top to bottom. And now with some of the new programs that have come in, it's a really cool league to coach in and to go into some of those environments. And I was very fortunate to be able to do it, and looking forward to going back to Mizzou this time around.
Coach, you mentioned last week the Lafayette game. The title escapes me, but you mentioned it being a movie, a bunch of unknowns coming together to get a job done. 1-0 after that movie. What movie are we looking forward this weekend in Mizzou? Maybe like Lembo's 11 or something?
No, you're putting me on the spot. You're putting me on the spot with another movie. But no, I mean, to me, it's really the mantra this week is just clean up the mistakes and let's get a little bit better at what we do and not change who we are, and try to go out there and play a really, really clean football game. And you even look at Murray State, and obviously the score ended up being lopsided, but those guys did some good things in that game. But they handed them 21 points early, and to me, those are the mistakes you've got to try to avoid, and just go out there and keep the chains moving and keep everything in front of you on defense and hang around. And there have been some group of 5 teams like Middle Tennessee State did last year that were in a really tight game with these guys in the fourth quarter. And if you look at that Middle Tennessee game, they played really clean. They were 50% on third downs. They did a good job containing the run, and they played really solid on special teams. And before you know it, it was a tight game in the fourth quarter. So that's a credit to them. And play clean football. You always give yourself a chance.
How do you and the special teams unit kind of clean up those mistakes in preparation for going from Lafayette to number 11 Missouri?
Yeah, well, one thing you can't do is spend a whole lot more time on it, because we already spend what I think is a maximum amount of time on it. So I think the first thing is we got to do a better job coaching them and making sure that they understand the details and the expectations and the little nuances of the technique. And then we've got to make sure that we've got the best guys in the best spots. And that goes for all three phases. Like, it's an ongoing competition. And so you need to keep demanding the best out of your guys, and you need to keep evaluating your personnel throughout the course of the season. And just because, you know, a certain guy played in a certain spot on a certain unit in the first game doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that's where he's going to be the next week. We've got to keep encouraging that competition, building our depth, developing our players, putting the best guys in the best spots. So I think it's a combination of starting off with me and us, coaching-wise, preparing the guys better and making sure that we're making every rep count. And then from there, the guys have to have a sense of urgency to get better.
Do you have a general philosophy about playing offense and defensive starters on special teams?
Play them. Play them. Yeah, everything in moderation. You know, I'm great Pretenders song, Middle of the Road, right? We got to play some games in Ohio here before the end of the season. So Pretenders are from Ohio, John. And middle of the road. So punt, for example, we're going to play the best guys on punt. There may be some other units where discretion's the better part of valor, and there might be a guy that you say, okay, kickoff return, punt pressure, you know, maybe there's somebody else that can do this job if they're fresh and do it as well as that starter on offense or defense might be able to do it if he's a little bit tired in the third or fourth quarter. So we're constantly looking at the whole and then all the little parts and then going back and looking at the whole again. All right. Thank you, folks.